So with Kraven the Hunter out in theaters, we're going to be ranking every single film in the Sony Spider-Man Less Universe, starting from the worst to the watchable films. If I'm being honest, there's not really a best in this universe. There's just the watchables and the bottom of the barrel garbage. So let's go ahead and get started with the rankings. Coming in at number 6, I have Morbius. This was a movie that I was so interested in when they first dropped the trailer at the beginning of 2020. It was supposed to come out in July of that year, but the pandemic had other plans, so it got delayed for almost 2 years, and it finally dropped in theaters on April Fool's Day. And the joke was on me, because I'm gonna be honest, the trailers for this movie did a number for me. I really enjoyed the trailers. I love the way that Morbius looked, I love the way that he moved, and I thought Jared Leto was going to be okay as Morbius. However, once I finally got to see the movie, it was just a clusterfuck of a mess, and the final product was just a disappointing mess for me, because I don't think it's as bad as everybody made it out to be. I thought it was fine, but they had so much potential with this movie and they just squandered it. You had a lot of Spider-Man references in the trailers and they just removed them out. You had the director spoiling the movie and the post-credit scenes before the movie even came out. They re-released it because they thought the memes would help it a little bit more if they re-released it, and it flopped even worse. So yeah, this was an utter mess, but I don't think it's as bad as everybody makes it out to be. It was just a disappointing mess for me. Coming in at number 5 is the newly released Kraven the Hunter. Now, the reason why I have this movie above Morbius is because at least I can have a small degree of fun when you have Kraven's little brother singing Harry Styles. When that happened, I started busting out laughing because I just thought it was the most funniest things. Aaron Taylor Johnson does his very best to save it as much as he possibly can from this movie, except that doesn't really work. You have Oscar caliber actors in here and they're just completely wasted, wishing that they were wasted. You had ADR in here, but it wasn't as bad as Madam Web. I will give it that. The reason why I have this above Morbius is because not only am I able to have a little bit more fun with this movie with just how ridiculous it is, but also there is more potential with Kraven the Hunter than it had with Morbius, only because of that R rating, so that when the violence happened, it was gnarly, it was bloody, and I was having a lot of fun when those scenes happened. Except everything around this movie is just a complete mess. They didn't know exactly what they wanted this movie to be. It was supposed to be released at the beginning of 2023, and it just got delayed and delayed and delayed. And ultimately, it just made me come out scratching my head, wondering how this movie just went so far into the wrong. Coming in at number 4, I have Madam Web. Now, I know that this movie is awful. However, I have seen this movie a couple of times, and I'm not ashamed of that whatsoever, because I can accept the ridiculousness of this movie and have a little bit more fun with just how stupid it is. Dakota Johnson, Sydney Sweeney, and Isabel Merced, and Celeste O'Connor, they definitely don't want to be in this movie, and it definitely shows. The ADR in this movie is all over the fucking place, and I think it helps that I saw this movie right after I got done being desperately sick and heard all of the positive reviews for this movie. So I think that helped me a little bit more going into this movie, so I knew what I was going to be expecting, and when I finally got to see it on the big screen, I was not disappointed because I was laughing my ass off at every single stupid turn. At least you had Dakota Johnson, Sydney Sweeney, and Isabel Merced for me to look at, so I can just get through this movie and just accept it for how stupid it is. Coming in at number 3, I have Venom The Last Dance. Really, the gold standard for this universe is the Venom films, because it felt like they were putting so much more effort into the Venom films and they just wanted nothing to do with everything else, because the first Venom film came close to making $1 billion, something I'm pretty sure nobody expected it to make. I'm pretty sure everybody expected this movie to do okay or flop. I did not expect it to do the business that it did. And Venom The Last Dance is my least favorite of the films. Still have a lot more fun with this movie when the film is tied directly to Eddie and Venom. Really, the cornerstone for this trilogy is Eddie and Venom. It's Tom Hardy that makes these films watchable and really enjoyable. I really enjoy the dynamics that they have with Venom and Eddie. I love the odd couple pairing that we have, the little banters here and there. Even though Venom The Last Dance is the weakest in the trilogy, the only times that I'm not having fun with this movie is when we get away from Eddie and Venom. When we go back to Juno Temple and Chiwetel Ejiofor, that is where the movie completely loses me, and I just want to be able to stick with Venom and Eddie for the rest of the film. I can watch a 2-hour Eddie and Venom film and I will not feel any bored. Their banter is really what makes Venom The Last Dance really work, and when we move away from them and go to the Area 51 segment, doesn't work for me. The plot in here isn't really the best, but like I said, put Eddie and Venom, I'm having a good time. Coming in at number 2, I have Venom. Going into this movie, I was so excited because I remember when they announced Tom Hardy as Venom, and I just got super excited. I was so excited to see what they were going to do with this movie. The trailers had me hyped, and when I came out of the film the very first time, I was really disappointed because we got this much of Eddie and Venom. And the reason why we got that much of Eddie and Venom is because when you take out the end credits and the post credit scenes, the movie is about 90 minutes. And we don't see Eddie and Venom together until the halfway mark, and everything leading up to that point is just absolutely boring, and I really don't care for anything that happens. It's all about that lead up. Once we have Eddie and Venom, that is where the movie starts to be a little bit more fun and a little bit more enjoyable. That is when I'm able to get behind the film. Everything else leading up to that is just forgettable garbage. Was not the biggest fan of Riz Ahmed as the villain in this movie. Just felt really generic and I could really care less. And that was one of the biggest disappointing factors when it came down to the 2018 Venom film, is because I'm a big fan of Riz Ahmed and I don't think they gave him a lot to work with, which was really disappointing because I think he is absolutely fantastic. But you also had Ruben Fleischer directing this film, and he added a little bit more of the horror elements in this movie, which was completely missing from Venom Let There Be Carnage and Venom The Last Dance. And having that tonal shift from Venom and Let There Be Carnage, it's a little bit disjointed when you watch it back to back, but as far as my enjoyment, I just enjoyed this one a little bit less than Venom Let There Be Carnage, because Venom Let There Be Carnage is my number 1 for this universe. Like I said, we are not here to rank worst to best because there is not the best. There's just the watchable films. And this was the first film ever, as of recording this video, I have never walked out of a movie and immediately walked right back in after finishing it. That's how much fun I had with Venom Let There Be Carnage. I think Andy Serkis injected a little bit more fun in here, and the thing that really made this movie work a little bit more than the first Venom did is the fact that as soon as the movie begins, you are immediately hooked into Eddie and Venom. You see their dynamics as soon as the movie begins, and I think that is what made this movie a little bit more fun and a little bit more enjoyable, is the fact that we didn't need the setup to Eddie and Venom. The setup was already there from the previous films, so we were able to just right into this film and have a little bit more fun. And I enjoyed Woody Harrelson as Cletus Cassidy / Carnage in this movie. I thought he was okay. I know a lot of fans were really disappointed with how they portrayed Carnage, but I thought Andy Serkis did a really good job of handling him as a villain, and the fight between Venom and Carnage at the end was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, but overall this is a movie that I just really enjoyed from beginning to end. It holds a very special place in my heart, and for that reason, Venom Let There Be Carnage is my number 1. But those are my rankings for the SSU. Let me know down in the comments, what is your ranking? Would you shuffle around a couple of mine, or would you just keep it the same? Go ahead and drop your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys for the next video.